Part 2. Okay, let's continue. In my last 15 years working on this type of stuff, I found scientists are divided into two categories of zealots about this field. The first half are people who are absolutely entranced by the physics of these things. This quote is from a respectable scientist. In fact, one of the founders of this field. There is a very clear prediction, numerology, that our most successful theory of nature makes, and that is, there are an innumerous number, a mind-boggling large number of parallel realities, as real as this one, that have different consistent histories. Stop. He is basically talking about Einstein's string theory. Let's continue. So imagine a world where all of the laws of physics bathe, but different decisions are made along the way. Different decisions at the level of the tiniest microscopic particle. Different decisions all the way up to what you chose to eat for lunch and whether you chose to come to this session or not. Quantum mechanics makes a very specific prediction that all of those are as real as the thing you remember. And this is bizarre because we don't see those other things. But science has reached the point now that we can build machines that can exploit. Stop. There he go again. Always exploiting all of this knowledge with no wisdom whatsoever. Am I the only person to realize these machines simply put them in the spiritual realm? Whatever they are seeing is being projected by the evildoers. But let's continue. Are you ready for this? Quote, but science has reached the point now that we can build machines that can exploit those other worlds. And quantum computers are perhaps the most exciting of all of these that we have within or almost within our grasp right now. Stop. Am I the only person that realized two things thus far? First, did he not just describe the Avatar movie? Yes. Yes, he did. And second, and most important, just from his statement, there are other technologies that are attempting to do the same thing, like CERN and ITAR, just to name two. But quantum computers are only leading the pack. But let's continue. Are you ready to hear this? Quote, so people from physics background love this. They want to understand the world. They want to understand the universe, how it all works. There's another type of person who tends to come from the computer science side that's like, yeah, that's all great. But there's a different thing going on here which is just as exciting, if not more. And that these machines that supposedly can do all of this wild stuff, let's forget about how they work. If you could build one, could solve problems that you could never, ever solve with any computer of the sort that we build. If you take every single atom of silicon in the world and made the most sophisticated conventional Intel-style processor that you can build, there are problems we know of that I can write down on a sheet of paper that you could never, ever solve with that thing that you could do with this type of machine. So that's very exciting. Humans use tools to do things. If you give humans a new kind of tool that can do things that you couldn't otherwise do, imagine the possibilities. So you may think this is all fine and dandy, but aren't these things in the realm of theory and speculation? Kinda the same regime of other futuristic things you may have heard of, which may be allowed by the laws of physics, but aren't here yet. That's not true. In fact, there are many of these machines deployed now. Stop. Deployed now? Deployed now? Strange two words for a civilian to say. But let's continue. Quote, but that's not true. In fact, there are many of these machines deployed now in openly available research centers, following the model that was used to introduce supercomputers into the world. They are too big and ornery and difficult to operate to put in your home. Too expensive also. But you can give them to a place which would manage it as a shared resource that will share it to the world. And there are two of these now. One of them is at the University of Southern California. And this analogy with flight, I think it's an interesting one. So a horse could be the initial flight of the Wright brothers' flight and speed. But the plane is not a faster horse. The plane is a different kind of machine. The plane takes advantage of another resource that nature gives us. This third dimension. He was talking about space. It doesn't matter how fast you make the horse, it will never fly. Or at least the kinds of horses we know about. So these types of computers now are being thought of in the same way. They are not terrifically powerful yet, but they are doing something completely different than what your computer does. And that thing is like flight. It gives these computers access to these new resources. Maybe you can call them parallel universes in order to do something you couldn't otherwise do. That's not the only one. In fact, the one I'm going to come back to and talking in the context of the story I'm wrapping this in was recently installed at NASA. Stop. Well, what do you know? So NASA does have the tools to project and change the ordinances and laws of physics in the universe after all, huh? Let's continue, please. Check out who spearheaded this mission. Mind you now, this company has become the biggest robotics and information company in the world. A fact I want you to remember. It is very important towards the end. Quote, the one I'm going to come back to and talking in the context of the story I'm wrapping this in was recently installed at NASA. And Google was the primary interested party that pulled this whole thing together. And this one really excited me. Why? Because what they are going to do is apply this machine to an area that I think is fundamentally important. It's a crux of our future as humans. And that's, can we build machines like us? So building machines like us might be possible. I certainly believe it is. I might be wrong. But what I do know is the type of approach people are taking now to build intelligent machines benefit immensely from what this machine we built does best. So what this center is about to apply, is applying this beautiful new computational idea in the service of trying to make intelligent machines. Now, I can't think of anything personally cooler than trying to use quantum computers to make intelligent machines. So this is very exciting to me. I'm skipping. Now he is talking about quantum computers itself. Warning, don't get bogged down in the AI aspect. That is not the interesting part of the lecture, if you can believe. Quote, interestingly enough, these fridges, which are called Part2 delusion refrigerators, have a thing called a pulse tube, which emits a sound roughly once per second, which sounds eerily like a heartbeat. If you have the opportunity to stand next to one of these machines, it is an awe-inspiring thing, at least for me. It feels like an altar to an alien god. They really are impressive machines. Stop. What? Why on earth would he string those words together? Question. Am I the only person, when hearing this, immediately thought of the person the world calls the Antichrist? I am, huh? I am? What? Why would I think of him as such? Because listening to this guy sounds exactly like the description Uncle Ezekiel and Daniel told us about him and his technologies. Let me explain why I say this by reading Ezekiel's description and then follow it up by Uncle Daniel. Ezekiel 28, 1 through 10 in the Septuagint. Quote, "And the word of the Lord came to me, saying, And thou, son of man, say to the prince of Tyrus, Thus says the Lord, because thine heart has been exalted, and thou hast said, I am God. I have inhabited the dwelling of God in the heart of the sea. Yet thou art man, and not God, though thou hast set thine heart as the heart of God." Stop. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, this is a man who has tapped into the dwellings of God, meaning the other side, different dimensions. This is quantum physics, people, but let's continue.